everyone, and welcome to our event here in Dubai at the World Expo 2020, though it's 2021, of course. So, we are the Work Institute, a non-profit foundation from Sweden, founded by me and a few other people a few years ago. We were tired of all the pessimism and all the negative headlines, and we wanted to do something about it. We wanted to make the future come sooner, and today we're going to talk about the future in space. And one of the key things, if humanity is going to expand into space, we will need a lot of resources. Will we take those resources from Earth and send it to space, or how are we going to do it?
Well, that is a possibility. However, a lot of new things are opening up, so I very much doubt that that is the way that we'll do it in the future.
And I'm Mathias Sundin, founder of the Work Space program and CEO of Work News, where we produce and share fact-based, optimistic news. And I'm here with
Caroline Olsson, and I work with Work, but I also work a lot with space startups within space.
So tell us about these asteroids and what we can mine there.
Well, one of the things that we really have to think about when we start going into space is how we're going to actually get there. What do we need and what do we want to accomplish? And this is one of the things that have been thought about for such a long time. I mean, the journey to the moon, we went, do you remember the last time we were on the moon?
Yeah, 1972.
72. And how come do you think we're not there now?
We stopped trying, I think. So the space race between the US and Soviet Union were over, the United States won. But so they stopped trying really. Okay, we've done things since, but if you ask someone in 1972 or 1975 or in the 70s, where are people going to be? Where will humans have been? In the year 2021, that's the future. And everyone's like, nowhere, on Earth.
And I mean, before that, the idea was that we'd be colonizing the moon by then. But to be able to do that, there's a lot of things that have to be put in place. If we're going to live there, we need water. There isn't water on the moon, and we need a lot of materials to build our habitats and also to keep traveling back and forth. And we won't be able to find those on the moon. And this is one of the reasons why asteroid mining has been a really big part of the discussion for the last 30 years. But usually when you talk about asteroid mining, what do people think? Well, it's this. It's science fiction. This is from a science fiction series called The Expanse, and in this actually, the whole plot of the movie is the fact that the belters, the people mining the asteroids, are basically a workforce for the humans and Martians, and this creates sort of a social uproar. And this is usually discussions about asteroid mining. And I don't know about you, but I don't think that that's really the proper way that we're going to be talking about this in the future.
Yeah, and the other science fiction movie I think of is Armageddon, when Bruce Willis goes out to save the Earth and mine an asteroid for, breaking it up.
Yeah, and they bring all the stuff from the oil platforms and do the exact same. That's another misconception, I think. That's not the way it's going to be done at all. That being said, though, we have actually moved away from that, and we are now at the early stages of asteroid mining. And this maybe people they're not even aware of. For most people, it is still science fiction. But if you look here, you see, obviously a depiction of one of the missions that actually arrived back to Earth last year. And this was a successful proof of concept mission to an asteroid. And what they did was basically they spent a huge amount of money to go there and bring back about 5 grams of material. So maybe that's not the most financial way to do it yet. But that's usually the way it goes when it comes to space, isn't it, Mathias? You have to start out with huge investments.
Exactly, that's always the case with new technology. It's super expensive at first, and you have to have governments or some very, very rich private individuals to put the money in to be first in doing something or having a really cool phone. In the 80s, people from Wall Street spent thousands of dollars on a huge phone you can maybe drag around. And now we all have supercomputers with us, with our smartphones. So this is the same thing, but it's even more expensive, of course.
Yeah, it is. But we have to. So this is the fact that we've actually tried it out and it works. But the next stage, obviously, is being why? Why is this so important? What is it we're looking for? I'm not sure how much you know about asteroids. What can you actually find inside of them?
Everything you can find on Earth. I guess, but much more of it, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And one thing especially that we find on asteroids will be absolutely instrumental when we travel, and that of course being water. So there's a lot of ice in asteroids, and there's also a lot of what we call the rare earth minerals. And they're called rare earth minerals because they're rare here on Earth, but they're not over there. So basically, this is something that we really need to take into consideration. Another misconception when it comes to asteroid mining is that we have to go incredibly far away. Because when we think about asteroids, we're usually around Jupiter because that's most of them are. But that's not completely true either, is it? We actually have a lot of asteroids that are circling the Earth at any given moment, and those ones are the ones that are the most easy to pursue. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how to get there. We need to find the ones that have the best sort of space and speed so that we can land. And once we've done that, we need to figure out how to land. So this is sort of tricky. There's a thing about asteroids, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but they don't have gravity. So you're sort of just bouncing off. Yeah. And obviously when you're trying to drill down into the asteroid to pick up things, they're going to bounce off as well. So we probably have to bring a lot of new technology to be able to figure that out. But all this stuff is being researched. So we're getting pretty close. This is actually a picture of some of the orbits, but you see here the typical NEA, this is what we call the near-Earth asteroids. This is where they are. So we're not even anywhere near Jupiter. This is quite close, and traveling to Mars is something that we're already calculated. So you can see pretty easily from this picture, if we want to make sure that we have enough water, that we have enough fuel to go to Mars, those guys are probably a good idea to mine on the way there, don't you think?
Absolutely. And if we are to move humanity into space, we need to do this because, okay, we can bring a little bit of resources from Earth into space, to the space station and to moon base and things like that. But you know, if there's going to be hundreds of people, thousands, or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, we have to mine them.
And this is something that the really smart minds that are actually planning to go to Mars, of course, have already thought of. Elon Musk talks a lot about this because he's aware that the size of the ship that he's building, he's going to need to do this. And there's a surprising amount of companies that you can already either invest in or at least keep an eye on if you're interested in this. So in the future, this is probably going to be something that we see all the time. So what do you think we should do if we're really passionate about asteroid mining? What's the next step, Mathias?
I think there's a lot of things you can do. Of course, you can try to influence your politicians to see if they, these are huge investments early on, scientific missions, they're being funded by taxpayers, that's one way. But you can also get involved on a sort of personal level, donate to these companies or initiatives, for example, or you can start, start working at a company like that. Go through that kind of education and start working and be, if that's something, and you can use, of course we're going to need a lot of engineering, but we're going to mine things, okay? It's not exactly like a mine on Earth. We don't have to drill down 2 kilometers to find anything. We can, but anyways, there's of course a lot of knowledge in the mining industry that we can use for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious to think that as well, that it's not going to be a lot of people that go there and do this work. It's probably going to be a lot of robotics and a lot of automation. So there's a huge amount of opportunities that are actually starting to present themselves from this industry. So what's the optimist edge?
The optimist edge is that we can find all the resources we need for Earth and for our future in space. We can find them on the asteroids. There's no lack of resources for humanity. There's a lack of resources, some resources here on Earth, and will be if we keep, pumping oil, spending all the oil, for example. But we have all the resources we need forever for humanity in space on asteroids.
And we're talking a lot about sustainability here, and obviously that being a huge game as well, that we don't have to use so much resources to get things up into space to be able to pursue this dream of ours of traveling further. So there's a lot of things to be gained for our planet as well, not just the people traveling to Mars.